Are we rolling? Yes, we are. What's up, guys? It's your McKinley Crain here, and today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free review of Season 1 of the FX and Marvel television show, which lasted from 2017 to 2019, which was, Legion. So, Legion is like, it's a horror show, right? It's an action drama horror show. Um, it's a horror show. It is a horror show. It's a horror show, but it's got a lot of drama and action in the episodes too. In its episodes too, it's sometimes it's like barely horror at all. It's like sometimes it's like borderline drama or borderline action, but it's still horror. Anyway, this, if you didn't already know, is an X-Men show. Well, it's an X-Men show about a group of mutants, specifically about one mutant, and his name is David Haller, and he's played by Dan Stevens. And his name is he also goes by Legion. That's why the show is called Legion, because it's like a superhero name or whatever. But nobody calls him that yet, as far as I can tell. Anyway, and before I get into the plot of this whole season or this whole show, I just like to say that I love this show. It's a perfect show. It's one of the most unique and beautiful TV shows I've ever seen. I've ever watched. It's one of the most artistically creative and just lovable shows on the planet. And addicting. And I love this show. This is one of my favorite shows, ever. Ever. Is this the best Marvel show? Yes, it is. Is this the best horror show? No, but it's one of the best. It's like the second best horror show. Is this the best superhero show? No, but it's one of the best. Is this the best FX show? Yes, it is. It's the best show that FX, which is a cable channel, ever aired. It's just an awesome and unique and brilliant show. And it's like a hidden gem on TV. Not a lot of people know that it exists. That this show exists. Not even a lot of diehard Marvel fans or diehard X-Men fans. And this show is canon to the X-Men Fox movie universe, which is over, by the way. Actually, I'm not entirely sure it's over. They might find a way to bring it into the MCU, or I think they might have. They actually might have already brought it into the MCU, kinda. If you watch WandaVision, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it hasn't really been confirmed yet. So I don't know, but yeah. So this is canon to the Fox X-Men universe, but it's it's not like a mainline Fox X-Men show. I mean, there aren't very many references to the movies. There are it's got quite a few references to certain X-Men characters and certain X-Men stuff from the movies. But it's it's related to the X-Men movies, just in a way, just like the show Jessica Jones is related to the MCU movies. Um, you know, if you've never seen Jessica Jones, you probably should, because it's great. Um, Jessica Jones is like, it's an MCU show, but like, it's not like a mainline MCU show. It's like one of those Marvel Netflix shows that got canceled, and was part of the MCU, but like, didn't have very many. It wasn't like a mainline MCU show, like, meaning like it wasn't like a show that was specifically about the characters that we had seen from the movies. I mean, there were references to, like, incidents that had happened in the movies, and characters from the movies in these shows, in the Marvel Netflix shows. But honestly, but they, other than that, they didn't really have much. They didn't really have a lot in common, like, with the MCU. Like, you could, they had like a very small connection. But like, they didn't like have a huge connection, like, like Agents of Shield did to, like Agents of Shield had to, like, the Avengers movies or WandaVision. Anyway, so it's like that. So Legion is canon, but it's not like, what happens in the show doesn't really, like, interfere a lot with what happens or what happened in the Fox X-Men movies, because they're over now. They're not making any more, sadly. But we're gonna see the X-Men in the MCU. Actually, I think we might have, like I said, I think we might have already seen the X-Men in the MCU. I think we might already have the X-Men in the MCU. It hasn't really been confirmed yet. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should probably go watch WandaVision, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And you should watch the Fox X-Men movies too, if you don't know what I'm talking about. We don't entirely know if we have the X-Men in the X-Men in the MCU yet. We might, but since we don't know, it's just safe to say that we don't until it's confirmed that we do. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this show is canon. And it's, like I said, it's about David Haller, aka Legion, and he's like a young adult, like early to mid 20s ish, who's been in, like, who, like, at the beginning of the season, he gets stuck, like, he's in a middle. He's not really stuck or anything, but actually, yeah, he is stuck. But he's in a mental hospital, and he apparently has schizophrenia, and he's been in that mental hospital for, like, years, and basically he doesn't really understand a lot of the stuff that's going on with him. He believes that he has schizophrenia, but there's some odd stuff that has happened to him in his life that makes him, like, think, what's up with that? That sounds like something that's totally unrelated, just little stuff like that. Like supernatural stuff that starts happening to him, and that's been happening to him, that makes him, like, question what's actually going on. Anyway, and so one day, a new patient comes in, and that new patient's name is Sydney Barrett, and she's played by Rachel Keller. And the thing about Sydney is she's she's like she can't be touched, if you know what I mean. Like, you can't, like, she won't let anybody like put their hands on her, like, or her face or anything like that. I mean, if she were later in the season, we find out if she wears gloves or something, like she's perfectly fine with, people touching her skin or whatever. But she won't let anybody, like, touch her skin or touch her face or touch her neck. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why she's in the mental hospital. And so basically, when David and Sydney meet, um, they bond and start a romantic relationship together, and that's their romantic relationship. Um, they're like what I mean by romantic relationship is that Sydney is David's girlfriend and David is Sydney's boyfriend. They're dating, if you know what I mean. Uh, or you could just say like going steady with each other. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know exactly what kind of slang term for, like, you know what I'm saying, for that kind of thing I should use. I don't know. Anyway, and their relationship is, in my opinion, one of the things that makes the show so perfect. Their relationship is just awesome. It's perfect. It feels so right. That the two characters have amazing chemistry with each other. Um, and I loved it. I love them together. Like, immediately when they, like, just when I was immediately introduced to, like, this whole thing in the show with them dating, I loved it. They're just so entertaining to watch, like, communicate with each other, and, like, I just love how they act around each other, and they just feel right for each other, if you know what I mean. These two characters feel like they should be together, and I just I just really enjoyed seeing them together. And so basically, a whole bunch of weird stuff starts happening um soon afterwards, and basically Sydney ends up getting David out of the mental hospital, and taking him to a group of people that she met. Um oh, and not just out of the hospital, out of, like, captivity. I can't really just get into, like, a whole bunch of details because spoilers, but you know, you know what I mean. Anyway, so she basically like she's released first, right? And basically she basically came into, like, she basically met some people who are like them, who are like David and her, and basically Sydney goes back and frees David from captivity. Um, and so basically, the show is basically like this season of the show is basically about you know David and Sydney's relation. Not only about David and Sydney's relationship, but also about both David and Sydney, like, trying to, like, meeting these new characters, and, like, discovering something that these characters know about what's going on that they're not so familiar with. And if you didn't already know, this is an X-Men show, right? So yes, both David and Sydney are mutants, and these people that they met are also mutants. And basically, these people, basically try to help David and Sydney cope with their powers. Mainly David, because David, like, he doesn't. He's got something inside of him, like, And another thing I should mention, like, this is really big. Speaking of that, speaking of what I just said, this is a really big part of the show. David, like, has like kind of like a parasite of the mind, like not like like a bug parasite or like not like an insect parasite, but like more like a demonic parasite. Inside of his head. That's like slowly like that's been there for a while and that's been slowly effing up his life, screwing up his life, if you know what I mean, and just screwing around with his head and trying to just slowly take over his mind. And it prevents him from using his power, from getting full control of his powers. And so basically, a lot of this show and a lot of this season is, David and like the rest of the characters trying to figure out how to get rid of this thing. And another plot in the show is them trying to escape from like a whole bunch of captivity, escape from like captivity like a whole bunch of times, and basically get rid of slash defeat the people, this part of the government that if you're an X-Men fan, about just hates mutants and just wants to control them, wants them dead. You know what I'm saying? And this is just a perfect show, and this show is just really fun to watch. And it's a horror show, right? There's lots of horror elements, and those are perfect. Those are awesome. And this show has also has a lot of drama in it, and that drama is awesome. The dialogue in the show is perfect and awesome, and just it's just awesome and really fitting. Every episode in the show, and every episode of this show so far, and every that I've seen so far, and every episode of this season has been perfect. Every episode of this season has been perfect, and I just really love this show, and it's just a really like gripping and compelling show, and these episodes are just all really gripping and compelling, and I love this show. It's the pacing is awesome. It's perfect. This show can be like slow burning when it needs to be in a great way that benefits the story, and it can be like fast paced when it needs to be. It's just a perfect show with everything in the show is perfect, and the performances in the show are perfect, and depending on the character, they can be intimidating, they can be like lovable and just awesome, and just actually all of the performances in the show are awesome. When I said depending on the character, I was talking about intimidating specifically. And all the characters on the show are awesome, and all of the villains and heroes and just everybody on the show is awesome. And I started watching this show almost a year ago. I started watching it in late March of 2020, when quarantine had just started and stuff like that, and I immediately fell in love with it. And now I just finished season 1, and I love it. I love it. It's a perfect show, and it's just a beautiful show, and I love its settings. I also love its settings. Its settings set the whole atmosphere of the show, for the show and for the season. And I just love this show. I love this show. I love everything about this show. This show You know, one of this show's whole like main gimmicks is that it's, like a lot of times in like, the episodes, it's purposely confusing. Like it tries to confuse the person who's watching the show. And that's awesome. I love that like whole like I love all that mystery. And I love all that uniqueness that's in there. And it's just awesome. And this whole show is awesome and thrilling and satisfying. And the characters are so flipping lovable. And, I just love this show. And I can't say that it's underrated because it's very acclaimed. The people who have like seen, the majority of the people who have like watched this show love this show. It has like an 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb, which is very good. It has like a 92%, like the whole show has like a 92% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes. This particular season has like a 90% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes. Just the people who have like the majority of the people who have seen it have loved it. So like, it's not, it doesn't get hate or anything, but when I mean like it's what I mean by kind of underrated, although I probably shouldn't say underrated, because people there are like a whole bunch of people like me who love this show, is because like not a lot of people know it exists, if you know what I mean. It's a hidden gem. It's a hidden gem of a show that a lot of people don't know exists. Like, and when like I go on like top 10 like best Marvel shows or whatever, like, on a whole bunch of lists, like, it's on some of there, but like, a lot of times nobody seems to put it on there, and I'm confused. And a lot of people don't know this show exists, and if they do know it exists, they don't know it's a Marvel show. So yeah, it's like a hidden gem. It's like, it's awesome, and it's perfect, and it's just one of the best shows ever. It's a perfect show. It's one of the greatest television shows of all time. It's truly a work of art. Anyway, I'm gonna give this season a 100% out of a 100%, which is the equivalent of an A+. Like, subscribe, join the notification squad. I will return.